Your dog is dying." Dr. Chen's voice cut through Jake's phone as he watched the security footage for the 7th time. 3 men. Metal pipes. Thor's body jerking with each impact. 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, severe head trauma. If you want to say goodbye, you have 20 minutes, maybe less. Jake's hands didn't shake as he started the truck. They'd shaken plenty in Afghanistan when Thor pulled him from that collapsed building. They'd shaken when Thor took shrapnel meant for his squad. But now they were steady as stone. Because in 20 minutes, he'd either save his partner or become the last person those 3 men ever saw smiling. Before we begin, please subscribe and follow this story to the end. Comment below with your city so we can see how far our story reaches. Now let's begin. Jake Morrison's phone vibrated during the handshake. Client meeting. 43rd floor. Seattle skyline stretched behind floor-to-ceiling windows like a postcard. The kind of view that cost money to ignore. Jake was good at ignoring expensive things. "Mr. Morrison, we're very impressed with your security assessment," the executive said, extending his hand across the mahogany desk. "When can you start?" Jake's phone buzzed again. He didn't look at it. Not yet. "I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chen. Can I review the contract and get back to you by Friday?" Of course. Chen smiled the kind of smile that bought boats. "We'll be in touch." Jake's phone rang. Not a buzz, a ring. The emergency tone. The one that only 3 people had access to: his old team leader Marcus, his sister in California, and his neighbor Tom Rodriguez. Tom was 72 and didn't call unless the house was burning down. "Excuse me." Jake stepped toward the window, pressing the phone to his ear. "Tom?" "Jake." Tom's voice cracked. "Jake, you need to come home. Now. It's Thor." The Seattle skyline blurred. Everything blurred except Tom's next words. They hurt him, Jake. They hurt him bad. Jake didn't remember leaving the building. Didn't remember the elevator or the parking garage or the moment his truck's engine roared to life. He remembered Tom's voice saying, "Security camera caught it all." And then he was on I-5 weaving through traffic like water through stones, his phone mounted on the dash playing footage that made his blood turn to ice water. 3 men. Pickup truck. His driveway. Thor had been sleeping in the yard the way he did every afternoon, sprawled in the patch of sun near the fence where the grass grew thick. Retired military working dogs don't lose their habits. Thor still positioned himself where he could see both the house and the road. 8 years in Afghanistan and Iraq taught a dog where to put his body. The footage showed Thor lifting his head when the truck stopped, standing slowly, the way older dogs do. That slight hesitation in his back leg from the shrapnel wound he took outside Kandahar. The men got out. Thor moved toward them, not aggressive, just alert, placing himself between the truck and Jake's front door. The first man swung before Thor could react. Metal pipe, straight across the ribs. Thor yelped a sound Jake had never heard him make in 8 years of partnership in firefights and explosions and raids where buildings came down around them. Thor had pulled Jake from a collapsed building in Ramadi. Had detected an IED that would have killed 6 Marines. Had taken a bullet meant for a 14-year-old interpreter. And now he was yelping because some civilian with a pipe didn't like dogs. Jake's speedometer hit 95. 100. The truck's engine screamed, but not as loud as his thoughts. On the footage, Thor tried to fight back. Bit the first man's leg, held on even as the second man swung. The third man kicked Thor in the head. Once. Twice. Thor let go, stumbled, tried to get up. They hit him again. Just a dumb mutt. One of them laughed. The sound carried on the video. Boss said send a message. This is the message. They beat Thor for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Jake knew because he watched the timestamp. Watched his partner, his brother, take hit after hit, trying to stand, trying to protect the house the way he'd been trained, the way his whole body understood protection, even when his body was breaking. The men left. Truck peeling out. Gravel spraying. Thor lay in the driveway, not moving, his tan and black coat matted dark with blood. Jake's phone rang again. Different number. Tom's wife, Maria. "Miho, the ambulance is here. For Thor. The veterinarian, Dr. Chen, she's coming. We called her directly. She said don't move him, she's coming to you." "I'm an hour out." Jake's voice sounded strange in his own ears. Flat. Combat flat. The voice that came out when his brain switched off everything except mission parameters. "Tell Dr. Chen, tell her I'm coming. Tell Thor I'm coming. He knows, Miho. He knows." Jake ended the call. Dialed another number. It rang twice. Webb. Marcus's voice. Detective Marcus Webb. Former Petty Officer First Class Marcus Webb. The man who'd been Jake's swim buddy through Buds, who'd pulled security in Fallujah, who understood exactly what Thor meant without Jake having to explain. "Marcus, I'm sending you footage. I need a license plate run. I need names. I need addresses." Silence. Then, "What happened?" "They beat Thor, in my driveway. Sent a message." More silence. Jake could hear Marcus thinking, could hear the gears turning. The same gears that turned during mission planning when they were younger and everything was clearer. "Send it. I'll run it." "Jake?" "What?" "Don't do anything until we talk. You hear me? Don't do anything." Jake hung up. Sent the footage. Pressed the accelerator harder. The truck 8 miles. Mount Rainier rose in the distance, snow-capped and indifferent. Jake's hands gripped the wheel so hard his forearms cramped. He loosened them deliberately, forced his breathing steady. In through the nose, out through the mouth, the way they taught in dive school. The way he'd breathed in 100 tight situations when panic was the enemy and calm was the mission. But this wasn't a mission. This was Thor. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus, partial plate visible. "Running it now. Stay calm. Stay calm." Jake almost laughed. Calm was for people who hadn't watched their best friend get beaten within an inch of his life by men who laughed while they did it. Another text. License comes back to Dylan Royce. 28 multiple assault charges. Works for Kane Construction. Address attached. Dylan Royce. The name meant nothing. Kane Construction meant something. Jake had heard that name before, recently attached to the offer letter that came 6 months ago. The one that offered to buy Jake's property for 3 times market value. The one Jake threw away because the 5 acres weren't for sale. They'd been his father's left to Jake when the old man died. The only thing Jake owned that felt like home. He'd said no. Apparently, no wasn't the answer Kane Construction wanted to hear. Jake's exit appeared. He took it at 60, the truck's tires protesting, the whole frame shuddering. 2 more miles, 1 more. His driveway. Tom's truck was parked sideways, blocking the road. Tom stood next to it, his Vietnam veteran ball cap pulled low, his weathered face tight. Maria stood beside him, rosary beads in her hands. Both of them looked at Jake like they were seeing a ghost, and maybe they were. Maybe Jake's face looked like something that should have stayed buried. "Where is he?" Jake's voice came out harsh. "Backyard. Dr. Chen said, move him there, better light, more space." Tom stepped aside. "Jake. He's alive. Barely, but he's fighting." Jake didn't run. Running was panic, and panic was useless. He walked fast, his boots crunching gravel, his breath steady, his mind cataloging everything: the tire tracks in his driveway, the pattern of blood drops, the broken piece of wooden fence where Thor had tried to retreat. The backyard gate hung open. Jake stepped through. Dr. Sarah Chen knelt in the grass, her hands moving over Thor's body with practiced speed, her face a mask of concentration. She was 40-something Korean-American ex-army veterinarian who'd done 2 tours herself. She didn't look up when Jake approached. Fractured ribs, possible internal bleeding, severe concussion, lacerations on his head, legs, and torso. He's in shock. Her voice stayed clinical, professional. "Jake, I need to get him to my clinic. Now. I stabilized him enough to move, but we're on borrowed time." Jake knelt beside Thor's head. The dog's eyes were closed, his breathing shallow and ragged, his body too still. Jake placed his hand on Thor's neck, felt the weak pulse beneath the fur. "Thor. Hey, buddy. I'm here. I'm right here." Thor's eye cracked open. Just one. The other was swollen shut. But that one eye found Jake focused on him with an intensity that didn't belong in a body that broken. "That's my boy." Jake's throat tightened. "That's my boy. You hang on. You hear me? You hang on." Thor's tail moved, barely, just a twitch against the grass, but it was there. Dr. Chen stood. "We need to go. My truck's out front. I brought a stretcher. I'll carry him." "Jake, I'll carry him." Dr. Chen didn't argue. She ran ahead. Tom and Marcus appeared with a board they'd rigged as a stretcher. Jake slid his arms under Thor, careful of the ribs, careful of everything, lifting the 80-pound dog like he weighed nothing. Thor whimpered, and Jake's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. I know it hurts. We're going to fix it." They loaded Thor into Dr. Chen's truck. She'd converted the bed into a mobile trauma unit, restraints oxygen IV bags hanging from hooks welded to the frame. She worked while Tom drove Jake kneeling beside Thor, keeping his hand on the dog's head, keeping that connection alive. "Jake." Dr. Chen didn't stop working her hands, checking vitals, adjusting tubes. "I have to ask, are you planning something?" Jake didn't answer. "Because if you are, Thor needs you, not revenge. You. He needs you to be there when he wakes up. He's going to wake up. If he was any other dog, I'd say no, but he's Thor, and Thor's not any other dog." She met Jake's eyes. "But it's going to be close, and it's going to be painful, and he's going to need his person." Jake nodded once. The clinic appeared a low building set back from the road surrounded by evergreens. Dr. Chen had bought it 5 years ago with her service savings, turned it into the best veterinary trauma center in the county. She'd saved animals nobody else would touch. She'd understand what Thor meant. They carried Thor inside. Dr. Chen's assistant, a young man named Brian, met them at the door, already prepping the surgical suite. They moved Thor onto the table. Jake stepped back, forced himself to step back, watched Dr. Chen and Brian work with the kind of synchronized efficiency that came from experience. "Jake." Dr. Chen's voice pulled him back. "I need you to wait outside, please." "I'm staying." "You're not. You're going to wait outside and you're going to let me work. If you're here, I'm thinking about you instead of him. Go." Jake went. Not because he wanted to, because she was right. Tom waited in the lobby, coffee in hand. He offered Jake a cup. Jake took it, didn't drink it, just held it because his hands needed something to do. "They're good kids," Tom said quietly. "Dr. Chen and her team. They'll do everything they can." Jake nodded. "You want to tell me who did this?" "Dylan Royce, works for Kane Construction." Tom's expression shifted. "Kane? That pendejo who wanted to buy your land." "Same one." "Mierda." Tom sat heavily in a plastic chair. "He's been pushing on half the neighborhood. Offered me money for my place too. I said no. Next week someone slashed my tires. Week after that poisoned my tomato garden. Couldn't prove nothing, but I knew." "Who else?" "Jennifer Park down the street. Single mom. Someone broke her windows. She's too scared to report it." Tom's hands tightened on his coffee cup. "Old man Hendricks too. They spray-painted his garage. Called him names I won't repeat." Jake's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus found Dylan Royce. 2 associates, Troy Vance 32, Kyle Sherman 26. All have records. All work for Kane. Kane's a developer. Buying up land for luxury project. Your property is the holdout. Jake, this is bigger than you think. Don't do anything alone." Jake stared at the message. Bigger than he thought. 3 men had beaten his dog because he wouldn't sell his father's land. How much bigger did it need to be? The surgery room door opened. Brian stepped out his scrubs marked with blood. He's stable. Dr. Chen wants to talk to you. Jake stood, walked into the surgical suite. Thor lay on the table, wrapped in bandages hooked to machines that beeped steadily. His chest rose and fell, alive. Dr. Chen peeled off her gloves. Her face looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. He's tough, tougher than I've seen in a long time, but he's not out of danger. The next 48 hours are critical. Internal bleeding is controlled for now, but it could start again. The concussion is severe. He might have seizures. He might have permanent damage. But he's alive. He's alive. She paused. Jake, I need to keep him here for at least a week, maybe more. He needs round-the-clock monitoring. And when he does go home, he's going to need care, physical therapy, medication, time. Whatever he needs. Good. Dr. Chen crossed her arms. Now, I'm going to say something you won't like. Don't go after these men yourself. Let the police handle it. The police. Jake's voice came out flat. Yes, the police. Marcus is a good cop. He'll find them. He'll build a case. They'll go to jail. And then what? They get out. They do it again. To someone else's dog. To someone else. Jake. They laughed, Sarah. On the footage. They laughed while they beat him. Silence filled the room. Dr. Chen studied Jake's face, and whatever she saw there made her sigh. If you do something stupid, Thor wakes up alone. Think about that. She left. Jake stood beside the table, watching Thor breathe, watching the machines track his heartbeat, watching the IV drip medication into his bloodstream. I'm not going to do something stupid, Jake said quietly to the unconscious dog. I'm going to do something smart. Outside, Tom waited by Jake's truck. He handed Jake a folder. Maria found these in our mailbox this morning. Thought you should see them. Jake opened the folder. Photographs. His house from different angles. His truck. Thor in the yard. Dates and times stamped on each one. Someone had been watching him. For weeks. There's more. Tom pulled out a piece of paper. This came with it. No signature. Jake read the note. Last chance. Sell or lose everything. His hands didn't shake. They should have. Instead, they stayed steady, holding the paper, feeling its weight. Tom, I need you to do something. Name it, mijo. I need you to watch Dr. Chen's clinic. Keep an eye on Thor. If anyone suspicious comes around, anyone at all, you call Marcus. Not me. Marcus. Can you do that? You're going somewhere. I'm going to have a conversation. Tom studied Jake's face, saw whatever was written there, nodded once. Be careful. These men, they don't play fair. Neither do I. Jake climbed into his truck. His phone showed 3 missed calls from Marcus. He didn't call back, not yet. First, he needed to visit Kane Construction. Just a friendly visit. The kind where everyone walked away breathing, but understood the message. The drive took 20 minutes. Kane Construction operated out of a converted warehouse near the industrial docks, all steel and glass. The kind of building that screamed money without saying anything at all. Jake parked across the street, watched the entrance, watched people come and go, counted exits, noted security cameras. His brain cataloged it all automatically the way it used to during mission planning. A black Mercedes pulled up. Expensive, recent model. The driver stepped out, mid-50s, silver-streaked hair, tailored suit, the kind of man who paid other people to get his hands dirty. Vincent Kane. Jake had seen his picture in the property documents. Kane walked toward the entrance. Jake got out of his truck. Mr. Kane? Kane turned. His expression shifted from mild curiosity to something harder when he saw Jake approaching. Can I help you? I'm Jake Morrison. I own the property on Riverside Road, the one you've been trying to buy. Kane's expression smoothed into a professional smile. Ah, Mr. Morrison. Yes. I hope you've reconsidered our offer. It's quite generous. Your men beat my dog this afternoon. The smile didn't falter. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Dylan Royce, Troy Vance, Kyle Sherman. Your employees. Security footage shows them on my property. They beat my retired military working dog with metal pipes for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Kane's eyes flickered. Just a flicker. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Video, license plates, everything. Then I suggest you take it to the police. Kane turned toward his building. I have nothing to do with what my employees do in their personal time. Jake's hand shot out, gripping Kane's shoulder, not hard, just enough to stop him. Listen to me very carefully. If anything happens to my dog, if he doesn't recover, if he dies, I'm coming back, and it won't be a conversation. Kane looked at Jake's hand, then at Jake's face. Whatever he saw there made him pale slightly. Are you threatening me? I'm making a promise. Military working dogs are federal property even after retirement. Attacking one is a federal crime. But that's just paperwork. That's just lawyers. What I'm talking about is personal. Kane jerked away. Security, get this man off my property. 2 guards appeared, big men, the kind hired for intimidation. Jake assessed them in half a second. Gym muscles, no real training, the kind who relied on size. He could put both down in under 10 seconds if needed. I'm leaving. Jake stepped back, hands visible, non-threatening. But remember what I said, Kane. Remember it when you sleep tonight. Remember it when your employees call asking for bail money. Remember that somewhere out there a retired SEAL with nothing to lose is watching, waiting. He walked to his truck, drove away, checked his rearview mirror. Kane stood in front of his building phone, pressed to his ear, face tight with anger. Jake's phone rang. Marcus. Jake, where are you? Driving. Driving where, Jake? I got a call. Someone reported a confrontation at Kane Construction. Want to tell me about that? Just having a conversation. God damn it, Jake. I said don't do anything alone. I'm building a case. I've got warrants pending. But if you go rogue, if you cross a line, it all falls apart. And these guys walk. They beat Thor. I know I saw the footage, and I'm sick about it. But you going Rambo doesn't help. It hurts. It hurts Thor because we lose the case. It hurts you because you end up in jail. Is that what you want? Jake pulled over, sat in the truck, breathed. Jake, talk to me. They laughed, Marcus. They stood over him and laughed. I know. And they're going to pay. But the right way. Through the system. Through evidence and testimony, and a judge who will throw the book at them. Let me do my job. Your job takes time. Yes, it does. But it works, and it sticks. What you're planning, whatever it is, it doesn't stick. It just makes you like them. Jake closed his eyes, saw Thor on that surgical table, saw those men laughing, saw Kane's smug face. I need names, Marcus. Everyone involved. Everyone Kane's hurt. Can you get me that? Why? Because if we're doing this the right way, we need testimony. We need witnesses. We need people willing to stand up. Silence. Then, I can get you that. But Jake, you stay away from Kane. You stay away from his men. You let me handle this part. Deal. Deal. I'm serious. If I find out you went near any of them, I heard you, I'll stay away. Jake ended the call, started the truck, drove back toward Dr. Chen's clinic. Tom stood outside, arms crossed, watching the parking lot like a sentry. He's still stable. Dr. Chen checked on him 20 minutes ago. No change. Good, that's good. Jake leaned against the truck. Tom, I need to ask you something. The people Kane's been pushing, would they talk? Would they testify? Some might, some are too scared. Jennifer, she's terrified. Hendricks is old, doesn't want trouble, but there's others. Sarah Donnelly, up on Ridgeway. She's tough, runs goats. Kane's men broke her fence, threatened her. She told them to go to hell. Tom smiled slightly. She's in her 60s, doesn't scare easy. She might talk. Can you introduce me? You thinking what I think you're thinking. I'm thinking, if we're going to stop Kane, we need numbers. We need people willing to stand together. One person he can pick off, but a dozen. 2 dozen. That's harder to intimidate. Tom nodded slowly. I'll make some calls, but mijo, you need to rest. You look like hell. I'll rest when Thor wakes up. Inside the clinic, Dr. Chen adjusted Thor's IV. She didn't look up when Jake entered. His vitals are holding. That's about all I can say right now. Jake pulled a chair beside the table. Sat. Put his hand on Thor's front paw, careful of the bandages. You're staying the night, Dr. Chen asked. Unless you kick me out. I won't kick you out. She made notes on a chart. Jake, I meant what I said earlier. Whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything. I'm just sitting with my dog. She studied his face. You're a terrible liar. I'm a great liar. I'm just choosing not to lie right now. Dr. Chen almost smiled. He's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have him. She left. The clinic grew quiet. Machines beeped. Thor breathed. Jake sat in the chair, watching his partner fight, watching that chest rise and fall, steady and stubborn. You always were stubborn, Jake said quietly. First day I met you, you bit the training officer because he tried to push you too fast. They almost washed you out. I said no. I said he just needed someone who understood him. They paired us up. You were 2 years old. I was 24. Thought I knew everything. Jake paused. You taught me different. Taught me patience. Taught me trust. Taught me that strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you feel it and you keep going anyway. Thor's ear twitched, just slightly. That's right, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Not until you wake up. And then not after that either. We're in this together. Same as always. Same as Ramadi when that building came down. Same as Kandahar when the IED went off. Same as every mission we ran where I trusted you more than any human. Jake's voice roughened. So you fight Thor. You fight like you taught me to fight. You don't quit. You never quit. The machines beeped. Thor breathed. And somewhere in the darkness outside, Dylan Royce and his friends were sleeping peacefully, unaware that the man whose dog they'd beaten wasn't planning revenge. He was planning justice. And justice, unlike revenge, required patience. Dawn broke cold and gray through the clinic windows. Jake hadn't moved from the chair beside Thor's table. His back ached. His eyes burned, but Thor's chest still rose and fell with that stubborn rhythm that meant alive, meant fighting, meant not giving up. Dr. Chen appeared with coffee. She set it beside Jake without a word, checked Thor's vitals, made notes. Her expression gave nothing away, but her shoulders relaxed slightly. That was enough. He's stronger, she said finally. Heart rate's more stable. Breathing's less labored. He's not out of danger, but he's fighting. He always fights. Yes. But Jake, I need to be honest with you. Even if he recovers physically, there could be psychological damage. Dogs remember trauma. He might be different when he wakes up. Anxious. Aggressive. Afraid. Jake's jaw tightened. They didn't just hurt his body. They tried to break his spirit. That's what I'm saying. His spirit might be... Thor's eye opened. Just the one. The other was still swollen shut. But that one dark eye found Jake immediately focused with an intensity that made Dr. Chen stop mid-sentence. Jake leaned forward. Hey buddy, hey, I'm here. Thor's tail moved, a single deliberate thump against the padded table. Dr. Chen's professional mask cracked into something like wonder. He shouldn't be conscious yet. The sedation alone... Thor's eye shifted to her, then back to Jake. Another tail thump. Weaker, but there. He knows you're here? Dr. Chen whispered. He's been waiting for you. Jake's hand found Thor's paw, squeezed gently. I'm not going anywhere. You rest now. You rest and heal. I've got watch. Thor's eye closed, but his breathing steadied, deepened, and that tail gave one more small thump before going still. Dr. Chen wiped her eyes quickly. That dog loves you more than anything in this world. The feeling's mutual. Jake's phone buzzed. Marcus. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Jake, I've got news. Bad news and worse news. Which you want first? Bad news. Dylan Royce posted bail an hour ago. So did his buddies. They're out. Jake's hand tightened on the phone. You arrested them. Damn right I arrested them. Picked them up at 6 a.m. Animal cruelty, trespassing, assault on federal property. Had the warrant, had the evidence, had them dead to rights. Judge set bail at $50,000 each. Someone paid it. Cash. All three of them walked out together. Kane. That's the thing. We can't prove it was Kane. Money came through a lawyer who got it from a shell company who got it from another shell company. By the time we trace it back, it'll be months. And these guys are in the wind. What's the worst news? Marcus hesitated. They're not running. They're still in town. Dylan was spotted at a bar an hour after he got out, bragging about the whole thing. Said, and I quote, "That Seal's dog got what was coming. Boss man takes care of us." Jake's vision went red at the edges. He forced himself to breathe. Where's the bar? Jake, no, don't even think about it. I'm just asking. You're not just asking. I know that tone. That's your mission planning tone. Jake, listen to me. These guys want you to come after them. It's a trap. They beat Thor to provoke you. They're out on bail to provoke you more. Kane wants you to do something stupid so he can claim self-defense, get a restraining order, maybe even press charges. Don't give him what he wants. Jake closed his eyes. Saw Thor on that table. Saw those men laughing. What do you want me to do, Marcus? Sit here and wait while they celebrate hurting my dog. Yes, that's exactly what I want you to do. Because I'm building a case. A real case. I've got officers canvassing the neighborhood, talking to everyone. Kane's intimidated. We've got the security footage. We've got the partial confession from when Dylan was arrested. He said enough to hang himself. We've got veterinary records showing Thor's injuries. We've got everything we need for a conviction. But only if you don't screw it up by going vigilante. How long? For what? How long until they're actually punished? Days, weeks, months? Weeks probably. Maybe a month. The DA wants this airtight because Kane's got expensive lawyers. We need witness testimony. We need financial records linking Kane to the attacks. We need a month. Thor could have died. Almost did die. And these guys get to walk around free for a month. Jake, I hear you. I do. I'm not going to do anything stupid, but I need to do something. I can't just sit here. Marcus sighed. You want to do something. Help me find witnesses. Talk to the people Kane's hurt. Get them to go on record. That's what I need. That's what'll actually put these bastards away. Tom said there's a woman on Ridgeway. Sarah Donnelly. Yeah, I've got her name on my list. She refused to talk to my officers. Said she doesn't trust cops, but she might trust a veteran. You want to try? Give me her address. Marcus rattled it off. Jake, be careful. Kane's watching you now. He knows you went to his office yesterday. He's got eyes everywhere. Don't give him ammunition. Jake hung up. Stood in the hallway. Tom appeared from the waiting room, looking tired but alert. Thor, wake up, Tom asked. For a minute. He's resting now. Jake paused. Tom, you said Sarah Donnelly doesn't scare easy. Think she'd talk to me. Maybe. She's particular about who she lets on her property. Lost her husband in Desert Storm. Doesn't have much use for government or authority, but she respects military. You go up there in your truck with your clean-cut face, she might listen. Tom pulled out a crumpled envelope. She gave me this last week. Asked me to give it to someone who'd do something about Kane. I think she meant the police, but maybe she meant you. Jake opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph Sarah Donnelly's fence cut cleanly with bolt cutters. A dead goat lying in the pen, its throat slashed, and a note pinned to the fence post. Sell or more die. Jesus, Jake breathed. She found that 3 weeks ago. Called the sheriff. They came out, took pictures, filed a report. Nothing happened. She called again 2 days later. They said they were investigating. She called a third time. They told her to install security cameras. She's 62 years old, lives on a fixed income, and they told her to buy cameras. Jake's hands shook slightly. He steadied them. I'll talk to her. Today. Want me to come? No, stay with Thor. If he wakes up again, I want someone here he trusts. Tom nodded. Mijo, be smart. These people, they don't fight fair. I'm done fighting fair. The drive to Ridgeway took 40 minutes through winding mountain roads. Sarah Donnelly's property sat at the end of a dirt track, 5 acres of scrubland and pasture tucked against the forest. The house was small, neat painted white with blue shutters. Goats grazed in a reinforced pen. New fencing Jake noticed stronger than before. She'd rebuilt after the attack. He parked at the gate and waited. In places like this, you didn't just drive up uninvited. He rolled down his window, kept his hands visible on the steering wheel. A woman emerged from the house. Tall and spare white hair in a long braid down her back, wearing jeans and a faded flannel shirt. She carried a shotgun, not aimed, just held casually across her chest. Her eyes were pale blue and sharp as broken glass. "You're Morrison!" she called out. Not a question. "Yes, ma'am." "Tom said you might come. Said your dog got hurt." "Yes, ma'am." She studied him for a long moment. "You planning revenge?" Jake met her eyes. "I'm planning justice. There's a difference." Sarah lowered the shotgun. "Come on up. Coffee's on." Inside the house was simple and clean. Photographs covered one wall, a young couple in military dress. The woman recognizably, Sarah, the man tall and grinning. More photos showed the man in combat gear, desert background, 1991 stamped in the corner. "My husband Robert," Sarah said, following Jake's gaze. "Died in the Gulf. Friendly fire. They called it an accident. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Never got real answers." She poured coffee into mismatched mugs. "Taught me not to trust official stories." Jake accepted the coffee. "Tom showed me the photograph. Your goat." "I'm sorry." Sarah's expression hardened. "Queenie. She was 12 years old. Raised her from a kid. They killed her to send a message. Like your dog was a message. These men, they think animals are disposable. Think we're supposed to just roll over and take it." "I'm not rolling over." "Good. Neither am I." Sarah sat at the small kitchen table. "You want to know what happened, I'll tell you. Kane's people came around 6 months ago. Nice suits, big smiles. Said they wanted to buy my land for development. Offered me $200,000. I said no. This land was Robert's dream. We bought it together before he deployed. After he died, I kept it. Kept his dream alive. I'm not selling it so some rich man can build condos." She sipped her coffee. "Week after I said no, my tires got slashed. Week after that, someone spray-painted my barn, called me names. I called the sheriff. They took a report. Nothing happened. Then Queenie died and that note showed up. I called the sheriff again. They said they'd investigate. That was 3 weeks ago. Haven't heard a word since." Jake's jaw clenched. "Marcus Detective Webb, he's building a case, but he needs testimony. He needs people willing to go on record. I already did. Talked to a deputy, gave him everything. Photos, dates, times. He wrote it all down, and then nothing. Why should I trust this is different? Because Marcus is different. He's former Navy. He understands what it means to follow through. And because if enough people come forward, Kane can't hide behind lawyers and shell companies. 1 person he can intimidate. 10 people. That's harder. 20, that's a pattern. That's conspiracy. That's federal charges." Sarah studied him. "You're not just doing this for your dog. No, I'm doing it for everyone Kane's hurt. For your goat, for Tom's tires, for Jennifer Park's windows, for every person who said no and got punished for it." "You sound like a man on a mission." "I am." Sarah stood, walked to a drawer, pulled out a thick folder. "These are copies of everything I gave the deputy. Photos, timeline notes. I kept copies because I didn't trust them not to lose the originals. You take these to your detective friend. Tell him I'll testify. Tell him I'll stand up in court and say exactly what happened. But tell him one more thing." "What's that?" "Tell him if Kane's people come back before the trial, I'm not calling the sheriff. I'm handling it myself. She patted the shotgun leaning against the wall. Robert taught me to shoot. I'm rusty, but I remember. Jake took the folder. I hope it doesn't come to that. So do I. But hope doesn't stop men like Kane. Force does. Legal force if possible. Other force if necessary. Outside, Jake's phone buzzed. Dr. Chen. He answered immediately. Jake Thor's awake. Really awake. He's trying to stand. Tell him to stay down. I'm coming. He made the drive in 30 minutes, probably breaking every speed limit. Tom met him at the clinic entrance, grinning. He's been asking for you. Well, not asking. You know how he asks. Inside, Thor lay on the table, eyes open, both of them now looking at the door. When Jake entered, Thor's whole body tried to rise. Dr. Chen gently pushed him back down. Easy, Thor. Easy. You're still healing. But Thor's eyes locked on Jake, and that tail started thumping hard enough to make the table shake. Jake crossed the room fast, placed both hands on Thor's head. Hey, buddy. Hey, look at you. Look at those eyes. That's my boy. Thor whined the sound somewhere between joy and frustration, trying again to stand. He wants to greet you properly, Dr. Chen said softly. His body's ready. Barely, but ready. If you help him, he can stand for a minute. Just a minute. Jake slid his arms under Thor's body, supporting most of the weight, and helped him to his feet. Thor swayed, trembled, but stood. His tail wagged slowly, his nose pushed into Jake's chest, and a sound came from deep in his throat. Not a whine, not a growl. Something else. Relief. Connection. Home. I know, Jake murmured. I know. I'm here. I've got you. Always got you. Thor leaned hard against Jake, all his weight trusting completely, and Jake held him, held all 80 pounds of scarred, beaten, unbroken dog, and felt something crack open in his chest that had been locked tight for days. They tried to break you, Jake said quietly. They failed. You hear me? They failed. Thor's tail thumped once, definitive. Dr. Chen wiped her eyes again. Okay, that's enough. Back down before he hurts himself. Jake eased Thor back onto the table. The dog settled with a huge sigh, eyes still fixed on Jake's face. He can probably go home in 2 days, Dr. Chen said, if his vitals stay stable. But Jake, he's going to need constant care. Medication every 6 hours. No stairs, no running, limited movement. Are you prepared for that? Whatever he needs. Good. Because he's not going to make this easy. He's going to want to do everything he used to do. Your job is to stop him. Jake's phone rang. Marcus again. He stepped into the hallway. Jake, we have a problem. Dylan and his friends are at your property. Right now. They've got a camera crew with them. What? Local news. Dylan called them, said he was being harassed by a violent veteran. Said you threatened him and his boss. They're filming outside your house saying they're the victims. Kane's there too, giving an interview about how he's just a businessman trying to develop the community and violent veterans are intimidating him. Jake's free hand clenched into a fist. I'm coming. No, Jake. That's exactly what they want. They're baiting you. They want you to show up angry so they can film it. Claim you're unstable. Get a restraining order. Don't give them the footage. So I just let them lie on camera. Yes. Because lies fall apart under scrutiny. Truth holds up. We've got the security footage of them beating Thor. We've got witness statements. We've got evidence. What they're doing right now is desperation. Kane knows we're building a case. He's trying to control the narrative before we control it. Let him waste his time. We'll bury him in court. Jake breathed hard. Every instinct screamed to drive home, to face them, to make them take back every word. But Marcus was right. This was a trap. What do I do? Stay with Thor. Let them film an empty house. Let them look like idiots standing in your driveway talking to a camera while nobody cares. Meanwhile, I'm getting more warrants. I'm talking to the DA. I'm building the case that actually matters. Marcus, trust me. Please, trust the process. I know it's slow. I know it feels wrong. But it works. Jake hung up, stood in the hallway, wanted to punch something but didn't because violence wouldn't help Thor heal. Violence wouldn't put Kane in prison. Violence was what they expected, what they wanted, what would prove their narrative that Jake was dangerous and unstable. Tom appeared. "You okay, mijo?" "No, but I will be." Jake pulled out Sarah Donnelly's folder. "I need you to take this to Marcus. Everything Sarah documented. Tell him she'll testify. Tell him I found one witness and I'm going to find more." Tom took the folder. "You're not going home." "Can't. They're waiting for me there, trying to provoke me." "Then come to my house. Maria's making dinner. You can clean up, eat something that's not clinic coffee. Thor's stable. Dr. Chen will call if anything changes." Jake looked through the clinic window at Thor, who'd fallen asleep again, his breathing steady and strong. "Yeah. Okay. Yeah." Tom's house was small and warm, filled with the smell of Maria's cooking chicken and rice and beans, the kind of food that made you remember home existed. Jake showered, borrowed clean clothes, sat at their kitchen table while Maria fussed over him like he was her own son. "Too thin," she muttered, loading his plate. "Men, they never eat right when they're alone. Tom was the same before I made him marry me." "She didn't make me do nothing," Tom protested. "I begged her to marry me." "You begged after I told you that you were going to." They bickered affectionately, while Jake ate the normality of it, almost surreal after the past 2 days. His phone buzzed, a text from a number he didn't recognize. "Back off, or next time the dog dies." Jake showed it to Tom. "They're escalating." "Forward it to Marcus. That's a direct threat. He can use it." Jake did. Marcus responded immediately. "Got it." "That's good. They're panicking." Panicked people make mistakes. Another text appeared, this one from Jennifer Park, the single mother Tom had mentioned. "Can you meet Tom? Gave me your number. I want to talk." Jake replied, "When and where tomorrow?" 10 a.m., my house. Tom knows the address. Jake looked at Tom. "Jennifer wants to talk." Tom's expression shifted to something like relief. "She's scared. Been scared for months. But maybe she's ready to stop being scared." That night, Jake slept on Tom and Maria's couch. Not well. Dreams came fragmented and violent. Thor bleeding, men laughing, Kane's smug face, the sound of metal on bone. He woke at dawn, sweating, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Tom was already up, coffee brewing. Nightmares. Always. Yeah, me too. 40 years later, still got them. They never really go away. You just learn to live with them. They drove to the clinic. Dr. Chen met them with a smile. He had a good night, ate some food, drank water, even walked a few steps when I wasn't looking. Thor raised his head when Jake entered, tail thumping immediately. His eyes were brighter, more alert. The swelling in his face had gone down. He looked like Thor again, not just a broken body. "Hey buddy, you're looking good." Thor tried to stand. Jake gently pushed him down. "Not yet. Soon, but not yet. You rest. I've got something to do and then I'll be back. Tom's going to stay with you. He'll tell you stories about Vietnam. Boring stories. You'll sleep through all of them." "My stories are not boring," Tom protested. Jake squeezed Thor's paw. "Be good. I'll be back soon." Jennifer Park's house was modest, well-kept, flower boxes in the windows. A small sedan sat in the driveway, one rear window covered with cardboard and duct tape, the broken window Tom had mentioned. Jennifer answered the door before Jake could knock. She was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes and nervous hands. A small boy, maybe 6, peeked from behind her legs. "Mr. Morrison, I'm Jennifer. This is my son David. Come in, please." Inside the house was clean, but showed signs of struggle. Furniture worn, but cared for, toys, organized neatly, photos on the walls, showing Jennifer and David at various parks and beaches, making memories on a budget. "David, go play in your room for a bit, okay?" Jennifer said gently. "Is that the man with the dog?" David asked, staring at Jake. "Yes, sweetie. We're going to talk about grown-up things." "Is his dog okay?" Mom said bad men hurt his dog. Jake knelt to David's level. My dog's getting better. He's really tough and really brave, just like I bet you are. David nodded seriously. I'm brave. I protect my mom. That's good. That's important. You keep doing that. David ran off. Jennifer sank into a chair, looking exhausted. I'm sorry. He's been scared since the window broke. He thinks bad men are going to come back. I keep telling him they won't, but I don't know if that's true. Tell me what happened. Jennifer's story came out in pieces. The offer from Kane's people, her refusal because she couldn't afford to move and find another place in her budget, the pressure that started subtle and grew worse. A slashed tire, dog feces smeared on her front door. Finally, the broken window with a rock wrapped in paper that said, "Leave or we'll hurt your kid." That's when I knew I couldn't fight them alone, Jennifer whispered. I called the police. They came, took pictures, filed a report. But nothing happened. And I'm just a single mom working 2 jobs. I can't afford lawyers. I can't afford security. I can't afford to move. So I've just been trying to stay quiet and hope they forget about me. Jake's hands clenched. They threatened your child. Yes. And I know I should have fought back. Should have stood up. But David's all I have. If something happened to him because I was stubborn about a house. Her voice broke. Jennifer, listen to me. What they did was criminal. Not just the property damage. The threat against David. That's a serious crime. Detective Marcus Webb is building a case against Kane and everyone who works for him. But he needs testimony. He needs people willing to say what happened. I'm scared. If I testify, if they find out. They're already finding out. Kane knows people are talking. That's why he's getting desperate. That's why he's making mistakes. And Marcus can protect you. Can get you into witness protection if needed. Can make sure you and David are safe. Jennifer looked at her son's toys scattered on the floor. What about your dog? Is he really going to be okay? Yeah, he's tough. He's going to make it. They hurt an animal just to send a message. What kind of people do that? The kind that need to be stopped. She was quiet for a long time. Then, okay, I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. But, Mr. Morrison, I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me you won't let them hurt David. Whatever happens, whatever comes out in court, promise me my son stays safe. Jake met her eyes. I promise. On my life, I promise. Jennifer nodded, pulled out her phone. I've been documenting everything. Photos, texts, dates. I'll send it all to your detective friend, and I'll testify. I'll stand up in court and tell them exactly what these men did to my family. Jake's phone buzzed. Marcus Dillon just got picked up again. Violated bail terms. Judge is pissed. He's going back in. Jake showed Jennifer the text. It's starting. The walls are closing in on them. She smiled, the first real smile Jake had seen. Good. Let them feel what it's like to be scared. Jake left her house with more documentation, more evidence, more pieces of the case falling into place. He called Marcus on the drive back to the clinic. Dillon's in custody. What happened? Idiot posted on social media bragging about beating Thor. His exact words, taught that mutt a lesson. Seal boy ain't so tough when his dog can't protect him. Posted with a photo of himself holding the same pipe from the security footage. We picked him up an hour ago. Judge revoked bail. He's not getting out again until trial. 1 down. 2, actually. Kyle Sherman turned himself in. Said he wanted to cooperate. Said he'll testify against Dillon and Kane in exchange for a reduced sentence. He's scared, Jake. They're all scared. Kane's lawyers are circling trying to keep things quiet, but it's falling apart. Jake pulled into the clinic parking lot. How long until Kane goes down? Soon. DA wants this airtight. But between the witness statements, the security footage, Kyle's testimony, and the financial records we're tracing, Kane's done. He just doesn't know it yet. Inside, Thor was sitting up, eyes bright, watching the door. When Jake entered, that tail went wild. Look at you, Jake breathed. Look at you sitting up like nothing happened." Dr. Chen laughed. "He's remarkable. I've never seen a recovery this fast. It's like he decided he was done being injured and just willed himself better." Jake sat beside the table. Thor pushed his head into Jake's hands, a low rumble of contentment in his chest. "You ready to go home, buddy? In a couple days? Back to our place?" Thor's tail thumped agreement. "Good, because we've got work to do. You and me, like old times. We're going to make sure the people who hurt you answer for it. We're going to make sure they never hurt anyone else's family. And then we're going to help other families. Other dogs. Other people who need someone to stand up for them." Thor's eyes held Jake's, that deep understanding that went beyond words, beyond species, into something pure and unbreakable. "That's my partner," Jake whispered. "That's my brother." Outside, the sun broke through clouds. And somewhere in a jail cell, Dylan Royce was learning that actions had consequences. Somewhere in an office, Kane was watching his empire crack. And somewhere in the mountains, families who'd been scared for months were finding their courage because one man and one dog refused to be broken. The call came at 3 in the morning. Jake jerked awake on Tom's couch phone, buzzing with Marcus's name flashing across the screen. His heart seized before he even answered. 3 a.m. calls meant trouble. "Marcus, Jake Troy Vance is dead." The words hung in the darkness. Jake sat up suddenly cold. "What?" "Found him an hour ago in his apartment. Single gunshot to the head, gun in his hand, staged to look like suicide." Staged? Yeah, the man who beat your dog, who was about to testify against Kane, suddenly develops a conscience and kills himself day before he's supposed to give a deposition. Jake, this wasn't suicide. This was a message. Jake's hands shook, not from fear, from rage so pure it felt like ice in his veins. Kane did this. "We can't prove that yet. But yeah, I think so." And Jake listened to me very carefully. "You're in danger. Everyone who's testified or agreed to testify is in danger. Kane's cleaning house." "Where's Kyle Sherman?" "He was cooperating, wasn't he?" "In protective custody. Moved him last night after Troy's body was found. He's safe. But Jennifer Park, Sarah Donnelly, the others, they're vulnerable. I've got patrol units driving by their houses every hour, but that's not enough." Jake was already pulling on his boots. "I'm going to check on them myself." "Jake, you need protection too. Kane knows you're organizing witnesses. You're the biggest threat to him. Let him come. I'm ready." "That's what I'm afraid of. Don't go cowboy on me. Work with me here. Let me do my job." "Your job got Troy Vance killed." Silence. Then Marcus's voice tight with controlled anger. "You think I don't know that? You think I'm not sick about it? That man was in my custody, my responsibility, and someone got to him anyway. I will find out who. I will make them pay. But I need you alive to do it, so don't be stupid." Jake grabbed his jacket. "I'm going to Jennifer's house, then Sarah's. I'm making sure they're safe. You want to send a patrol unit to babysit me, fine. But I'm not sitting here while Kane picks off witnesses one by one." He hung up. Tom appeared in the hallway already dressed. "I heard. I'm coming with you." "Tom, don't argue. Maria's calling the prayer chain, getting half the church up. We're going to Jennifer's and Sarah's and everyone else Kane's threatened. Safety in numbers. He can't kill all of us." They picked up Maria on the way. She sat in the back seat with her rosary praying in Spanish, her voice steady and fierce. Tom drove while Jake called ahead to Jennifer. She answered on the first ring, voice shaking. "I heard. The police called. They said Troy's dead. They said it might not be safe." "We're coming to you. Right now. Pack a bag for you and David. You're not staying there tonight." "Where am I supposed to go? I can't afford a hotel. I can't." "You're coming to Tom's house. Tom and Maria will keep you safe. I'm going to make sure nobody follows us." Jennifer's street was dark when they arrived. Jake scanned every shadow, every parked car, every movement. His training kicked in automatically. Sightlines, cover positions, escape routes. He'd done this 1,000 times in hostile territory. Suburban Washington shouldn't feel like hostile territory. But it did. Jennifer met them at the door with David half asleep in her arms, a duffel bag over her shoulder. Her face was pale, eyes wide with fear. Is someone watching us? I keep thinking I hear things. Get in the truck, now. Jake took her bag, scanned the street again. A car sat 3 houses down, engine off, but someone was inside. Jake's hand went to his belt muscle memory, reaching for a weapon he wasn't carrying. The car door opened. A man stepped out. Get in the truck. Jake repeated, his voice dropping to combat calm. Tom had the engine running. Maria reached out, pulling Jennifer and David inside. Jake stood between the truck and the approaching man, his body angled ready. The man raised his hands. Easy, easy, I'm on your side. He stepped into the streetlight. Younger, maybe 40, wearing jeans and a jacket that said security across the back. Name's Paul Henderson. Marcus Webb sent me. He figured you might try something like this, so he sent me to keep an eye on Mrs. Park's place. Jake's shoulders relaxed slightly. You're a cop. Private security. Former Marine. Marcus contracts me when he needs extra eyes. He's got 3 other guys watching the other witnesses. But he said you'd probably show up playing hero, so he sent me to make sure you didn't get killed doing it. We're moving Jennifer to a safe location. Good. That's smart. Her house is too exposed. That car that was here earlier came by twice. Didn't stop, just cruised slow. Didn't like the look of it. Jake's jaw tightened. What kind of car? Black sedan. Tinted windows. No plates visible. Kane's people. Probably. They're watching. Seeing who's home. Who's vulnerable. Paul glanced at the truck. You get her somewhere safe. I'll stay here, make it look like someone's still home. Might buy you some time. They drove back to Tom's house in silence. David slept against Jennifer's shoulder. Maria kept praying. Tom's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. This is crazy, Jennifer whispered. This is insane. A man is dead. Troy's dead, and it's because he was going to testify about what they did. And I agreed to testify too. Does that mean I'm next? Does that mean David loses his mother because I stood up? Jake turned in his seat. No, that's not going to happen. Kane made a mistake tonight. He showed his hand. Killing Troy proves he's desperate, proves he's guilty, and it gives Marcus more ammunition to come after him. We just need to keep everyone safe until the DA files charges. How long is that going to take? Days, maybe a week. Marcus is pushing hard. A week. A week of hiding. A week of looking over my shoulder. A week of wondering if someone's going to... Her voice broke. Maria reached over, squeezed Jennifer's hand. Mija, you're not alone. You're coming into my house and nobody's getting through that door. I got Tom. I got Jake. I got the entire church prayer chain calling on angels to stand guard. You're safe with us. At Tom's house, they settled Jennifer and David into the guest room. Maria made hot chocolate despite the hour. Tom checked every window, every lock twice. Jake stood in the living room, phone to his ear, waiting for Marcus to answer. You got her? Marcus asked. Yeah, she's safe. Jennifer, Sarah Donnelly. Who else needs protection? I've got units on Sarah. She's got that shotgun and she's awake. Told my officer if anyone comes near her property tonight, she's shooting first and asking questions later. I believe her. Marcus paused. Jake the ME did a preliminary exam on Troy. Found bruising on his wrists consistent with restraints. He didn't kill himself. He was murdered, and it was made to look like suicide. So arrest Kane. On what evidence we know he ordered it? We can't prove it. Yet. But I've got forensics going through Troy's apartment. I've got phone records being pulled. I've got financial investigators looking for payments. We'll find the connection. But it takes time. We might not have time. I know. That's why I've got every witness under protection. That's why I'm not sleeping tonight. That's why hold on. Marcus's voice went muffled, talking to someone else. Then he came back sharp and urgent. Jake, Kyle Sherman just called. Said someone tried to break into the safe house. Patrol scared them off, but Kyle's freaking out. He says he's got information about Kane. Says he knows where Kane keeps his real records. The ones that prove everything. Where? His cabin, up in the mountains. Kyle says Kane has a property up there, uses it for hunting. Says that's where he keeps the books he doesn't want anyone to see. Records of every payment, every intimidation, every threat. Everything. Jake's pulse quickened. You're going after it. I need a warrant. And to get a warrant, I need probable cause. And right now, all I have is the word of a man in protective custody who's terrified for his life. Judge won't sign off on that alone. What if someone went up there, confirmed the records exist? Jake, no, don't even think it. That's illegal search. Anything found would be inadmissible. And if Kane catches you on his property, he'd be within his rights to shoot you. It's not worth it. What if I'm just taking a hike public land up there, right? Can't stop a man from hiking. Jake, I'm not going to touch anything. Not going to go inside, just going to take a look. Confirm the cabin exists. Maybe take some photos of the outside. That's not illegal, is it? Marcus was quiet. Then, if you go up there, you go alone. You don't tell me you're going. You don't send me anything you find. Because officially I can't know about this. Officially I told you to stay away. You understand? I understand. And Jake, be careful. Kane's already killed one person tonight. He won't hesitate to kill another. Jake hung up. Tom stood in the doorway. You're going to the cabin? Yeah. Want company? No. You need to stay here. Protect Jennifer and David. Protect Maria. I need to know they're safe while I'm gone. Tom nodded slowly. You need weapons. Tom. I got a rifle. Hunting rifle, legal registered. You're going into the mountains. Could be bears. Or other predators. Two-legged kind. Tom disappeared into his bedroom, returned with a hunting rifle and a box of ammunition. Roberts, from before he deployed. I kept it cleaned, kept it ready. Maria doesn't like guns in the house, but she likes her family alive more than she likes being comfortable. Jake took the rifle. Checked it automatically, the movement's second nature. Clean, well-maintained, good scope. Thank you. Mijo, you come back. You hear me? You go up there, you take your pictures, you come back. Don't be a hero. Don't engage. Just gather information and get out. That's the plan. Maria appeared with a thermos of coffee and a bag of food. You're not going into the mountains without eating. And you call us, every hour. If we don't hear from you, I'm sending Tom up there with the entire church. Jake hugged her. Hugged Tom. Checked on Thor one more time at the clinic doctor. Chen was doing a night check, said Thor was sleeping peacefully, healing better than expected. Jake stood beside the table, hand on Thor's head. I've got to go do something, but I'll be back. I promise. You rest. You heal. I'll be back. Thor's ear twitched. He didn't wake, but his breathing steadied like he heard and understood. The drive up to Kane's cabin took 2 hours on winding mountain roads. Jake killed his headlights a mile out, relying on moonlight and memory. He'd studied maps before leaving, memorized the route, the terrain, the layout. Old habits. Good habits. He parked off-road, hidden in trees. Took the rifle, the camera Tom had lent him. Water and the food Maria packed. Started hiking. The cabin sat in a clearing, expensive and remote solar panels on the roof, satellite dish generator housing. This wasn't a hunting cabin. This was a fortress disguised as recreation. Jake circled wide, staying in tree cover, taking photos with the telephoto lens. Lights were on inside. Someone was home. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus Kyle says records are in a safe. Basement. Combination lock. He doesn't know the code. Jake typed back, someone's here. Lights on. Not going closer. Do not engage. Get out. Movement at the cabin door. Jake dropped low rifle across his knees, camera ready. 2 men stepped out. One was Kane, unmistakable in expensive outdoor gear that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. The other was younger, muscular, military bearing. Private security probably. They talked, their voices carrying in the cold mountain air. Jake couldn't make out words, but body language said enough. Kane was agitated, gesturing sharply. The security guard nodded, went back inside, returned with a black duffel bag. heavy from the way he carried it. Jake's camera clicked quietly zoom lens, capturing everything. Kane took the bag, put it in a Range Rover parked beside the cabin. The security guard went back inside. Kane stood alone, phone to his ear, pacing. Then Kane looked directly at the trees where Jake was hiding. Jake froze. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. Old training. Become part of the environment. Become invisible. Kane stared for a long moment. Then turned away, got in the Range Rover, drove off down the mountain road. Jake waited. Counted to 300. When nothing moved, he started to retreat back to his truck. The security guard stepped out of the trees behind him. "Don't move. Hands where I can see them." Jake raised his hands, slowly, rifle pointing down. "Easy. I'm just hiking." "Bullshit. You're Morrison. Boss said you might show up. Said you're dangerous." The guard had a pistol aimed at Jake's center mass. Professional grip. Steady hands. This wasn't some hired thug. This was trained security. "I'm leaving. No problem. Just leaving." "Boss wants to talk to you. You're coming with me." "I don't think so." That wasn't a request. Jake's mind raced. The guard had the drop on him, but the man had made a mistake. He was standing too close within arm's reach, and his focus was entirely on Jake, not on surroundings. Classic overconfidence. "Look, I don't want trouble," Jake said, taking a small step back, angling his body. "Stop moving." Jake took another small step. The guard moved forward to compensate, maintaining distance. Exactly what Jake expected. Jake dropped the rifle, fell backward, rolled. The guard fired, but Jake was already moving, the bullet hitting where he'd been standing. Jake came up inside the guard's reach, grabbed the pistol, twisted. The guard's finger caught in the trigger, guard bone cracking. He screamed. Jake took the gun, stepped back, aimed. "On the ground, now, face down." The guard complied, cradling his broken finger. "He's going to kill you for this." "Maybe. But not tonight." Jake pulled out zip ties from his pack. Old habit, always carry restraints, and secured the guard's hands behind his back. Used another tie on his ankles. "How many others are in that cabin?" "Go to hell." Jake took the guard's phone wallet and radio. Checked the phone, locked, but the radio was active security frequency. He turned it off. "Stay here. Someone will find you eventually. If you're smart, you'll stay quiet. If you're not, I've got your gun and you're tied up. Think about which option is better." The guard glared but said nothing. Jake grabbed his rifle, and the guard's gear moved quickly back toward his truck. Behind him, he heard the guard starting to shout. Jake started running. He reached his truck, threw everything inside, started the engine. Headlights appeared on the road ahead, coming fast. Kane was coming back. Jake threw the truck in reverse, backed up the logging road he'd come from, killed the lights again, and took a side trail barely wide enough for his vehicle. Branches scraped the sides. The truck bounced over rocks and roots. Behind him, Kane's Range Rover stopped where Jake's truck had been. Flashlights swept the area. Jake kept driving blind, using the moonlight until the trail intersected with another logging road that led down the mountain a different way. He turned, accelerated, put distance between himself and Kane's people. His phone rang. "Marcus." "Jake, where are you? I'm getting reports of gunshots up near Kane's property." "I'm fine. I'm coming down. But Marcus, Kane's moving something. Big duffel bag, heavy. He put it in his Range Rover and left. I got photos." "Send them to me. Now." Jake pulled over, sent the photos. Marcus called back immediately. "That's evidence. He's moving evidence. Jake, you just gave me probable cause. I'm calling the judge now. We're getting that warrant." "There's a guard up there, tied up. I had to defend myself." "Jesus, Jake. Did you shoot him?" "No. Disarmed him. Restrained him. He's alive." "That's something." "Okay, I'm sending units up there now to secure the scene. You get back to town. Stay with Tom. Don't talk to anyone. I'll handle this." Jake drove back to Tom's house. Dawn was breaking when he arrived. Maria met him at the door, took one look at his face, and pulled him inside without questions. "Coffee, food, then you sleep." "I need to check on Thor first." "Thor is fine. Dr. Chen called an hour ago. He's awake eating, wanting to go home. You're no good to him if you collapse, so coffee, food, sleep. Then Thor. Jake sat at the kitchen table. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. He'd engaged Kane's security. He'd taken photos of what might be evidence being moved. He'd given Marcus the ammunition to get a warrant, but he'd also put himself directly in Kane's crosshairs. Tom sat across from him. You look like you've been through hell. Just another Tuesday. Maria's right. You need rest. Can't. Too wired. Jennifer appeared in the doorway, David behind her. The boy stared at Jake with wide eyes. Mom said you're a soldier. Was. Long time ago. Did you fight bad guys? Jake looked at the kid. Thought about what to say. Settled on truth. Yeah, I did. And I'm still fighting them. Because that's what you do when people hurt others. You stand up. You don't back down. You protect the ones who can't protect themselves. David nodded seriously. Like your dog. Your dog protects people. Yeah, like my dog. Can I meet him? When he's better, when he comes home. I think he'd like that. Maria put food in front of Jake, eggs, toast, bacon, the kind of breakfast that made you remember why you were fighting. He ate mechanically, fueling his body while his mind kept working. His phone rang. Marcus again. We got the warrant. We're at Kane's cabin now. Found the safe. Forensics is working on it. But Jake, you need to hear this. The guard you tied up, he's talking. He's cooperating. Says Kane paid him $20,000 to keep people away from the cabin. Says Kane's been up here all week shredding documents, moving files. Says Kane told him yesterday that if anyone showed up asking questions, make them disappear. Those were his exact words. Make them disappear. Jake's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. He was going to kill me. Yeah. And that guard just admitted it to my officers. Self-defense just became attempted murder by proxy. We've got Kane on conspiracy to commit murder. On top of everything else. Where is Kane now? Don't know. His Range Rover was found abandoned 20 miles from here. He's running. I've got APB out, airports being watched, borders being monitored. He can't get far. He's got money. Money buys a lot of options. I know, but Jake, we won. We've got the evidence. We've got testimony. We've got everything we need. When we find him, and we will find him, he's going away forever. Jake hung up, sat in Tom's kitchen, felt the weight of 2 days with almost no sleep, the adrenaline crash, the reality that he'd come within seconds of being killed on that mountain. Maria touched his shoulder. Mijo, you did good. Now you rest. He nodded. Let her lead him to the couch, closed his eyes, and slept dreamlessly for the first time in days. He woke to his phone ringing. Dr. Chen. Jake, you need to come to the clinic, now. Thor's asking for you. Asking how? He's standing at the door, whining. Won't settle down. He knows something's wrong. He needs to see you. Jake was out the door in seconds. At the clinic, Thor stood in the recovery room, bandages still on, but eyes bright, tail wagging slowly. When Jake walked in, Thor tried to run to him. Dr. Chen caught him gently. Easy, you're still healing, but yes, you can see him. Jake knelt. Thor pushed into him, nose against Jake's chest, that low rumble of contentment mixing with distress. He knew. Somehow he knew Jake had been in danger. I'm okay, Jake whispered. I'm okay. I'm here. We're both here. And buddy, we won. We got them. We got the people who hurt you. They're going to pay. Thor's tail wagged harder. Dr. Chen smiled. He's ready to go home. Not ready for action, but ready for home. If you can keep him quiet, keep him resting, he can continue recovery there. When? Today, now, take him home. They helped Thor into Jake's truck. The dog settled on the bench seat, head on Jake's lap, and Jake drove toward home with one hand on the wheel and one hand on Thor's head. Home. The place Kane's men had violated. The place that needed to be reclaimed. When they pulled into the driveway, Tom and Maria were waiting, having driven ahead to prepare. Tom had cleaned up the blood, repaired the fence, planted flowers where Thor had fallen, making it new again. Thor limped slowly from the truck to the porch, sniffed everything carefully, then looked at Jake as if asking permission. "Yeah, buddy. We're home. This is ours. Nobody's taking it from us." Thor lay down on the porch in his favorite spot of sunshine, sighed deeply, and closed his eyes. Jake sat beside him, back against the wall, rifle within reach, and waited. For Kane to be found. For justice to be served. For the final chapter to begin. 3 hours after Jake brought Thor home, Marcus called with news that made Jake's blood run cold. "Kane contacted me. He wants to make a deal." Jake stood on his porch watching Thor sleep in the afternoon sun, the dogs breathing steady and peaceful for the first time in days. What kind of deal? He says he's got evidence that proves Dylan and Troy acted on their own. Says he had no knowledge of what they were doing. Says he's willing to testify against his own company in exchange for immunity. That's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. But the DA is listening. Kane's lawyers are good. They're spinning this like he's a victim too, like his employees went rogue and he's as shocked as anyone. And Jake, without the records from that safe, without physical proof tying Kane to the orders, it's going to be hard to prove otherwise. You opened the safe yet? Forensics has been working on it for 6 hours. It's a high-end digital lock military-grade encryption. They're saying maybe another 12 hours before they can crack it. 12 hours. Kane could disappear in 12 hours. He's not going anywhere. He's in his lawyer's office downtown, surrounded by security and legal team. He thinks he's untouchable. And right now, with the evidence locked in that safe, he might be right. Jake's hands clenched. Thor lifted his head, sensing Jake's tension. There has to be something. Kyle Sherman testified. The guard at the cabin confessed. Kyle's testimony is good, but not enough. He worked security, didn't see the actual orders or payments. And the cabin guard's confession gives us attempted murder conspiracy, but that's separate from the animal cruelty and intimidation charges. We need those records, Jake. Without them, Kane walks on the original charges and maybe cuts a deal on the murder attempt. Then get a better tech to open that safe. We have the best tech, it's just taking time. But Jake, there's something else. Kane wants to meet with you. The words hung in the air. Thor stood up slowly, moved to Jake's side, pressed against his leg. Why would he want to meet with me? Says he wants to apologize in person. Says he wants to make things right. Wants to offer you compensation for Thor's medical bills. His lawyers are calling it restorative justice. It's a trap. Probably, but it's a trap we can control. Meet him in a public place, record everything he says. Maybe he slips up, admits something we can use. Or maybe he's really stupid enough to think he can buy you off. Jake looked down at Thor, who was watching him with those intelligent eyes that understood more than any dog should. When does he want to meet? Tonight, 7 p.m., coffee shop downtown. Public, lots of witnesses, security cameras everywhere. I'll have plainclothes officers positioned all around. You'll be safe. I don't care about safe. I care about justice. Then help me get it. Meet with him. See what he says. Let him think he's in control. Men like Kane, when they think they're winning, they get cocky. Cocky people make mistakes. Jake ended the call. Knelt beside Thor. What do you think, buddy? Should I meet with the man who ordered your beating? Thor's answer was a low growl, not aggressive, just warning. Be careful. Yeah, I will be. Promise. Tom pulled up in his truck as the sun started to set. Maria was with him carrying a casserole dish. You're not going to that meeting alone and hungry, she announced. So we eat first, then Tom goes with you. Marcus said, I don't care what Marcus said. You're not facing that man without family nearby. Tom will wait outside, but he's going. Jake didn't argue. Maria's tone left no room for argument. They ate together on Jake's porch, Thor lying between them, accepting small pieces of chicken. Maria snuck him despite Jake's protests that the vet said bland food only. Jennifer called to check in, said David was asking about Thor every hour. Sarah Donnelly sent a text, heard about the meeting. Be smart. That man is a snake. At 6:30, Jake changed into clean clothes. Tom loaded his hunting rifle into his truck. Maria kissed Jake's forehead like he was her own son going off to war. Thor whined when Jake started to leave, tried to follow. "Stay. You need to rest. I'll be back soon." Thor's eyes held Jake's, and something passed between them that didn't need words. Trust. Partnership. The understanding that they'd face this together even when apart. The drive downtown took 20 minutes. Marcus met them in this parking lot wearing plain clothes, but with his badge visible on his belt. "Jake, Tom. Glad you're early. Here's how this works." Kane's inside with his lawyer. 2 bodyguards outside the door. I've got 4 officers positioned around the building, 2 more inside posing as customers. You go in, you sit down, you let him talk. I'll be listening through the wire you're wearing. Marcus produced a small recording device, fitted it under Jake's shirt. Everything he says gets recorded. Anything that sounds like a confession or admission of guilt, I'll signal my team. We can arrest him on the spot. And if he doesn't say anything useful, then you thank him for his time and walk away. We keep building our case the traditional way. But Jake, don't provoke him. Don't threaten him. Don't give his lawyers any ammunition to claim you're the aggressor. Understand? I understand. Inside the coffee shop, Kane sat at a corner table, looking relaxed in an expensive suit, his silver hair perfectly styled. His lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, sat beside him. The 2 bodyguards flanked the entrance, both large men with obvious bulges under their jackets. Weapons. Jake approached the table. Kane extended his hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Morrison, thank you for coming." Jake didn't take the hand, sat down across from him. "I'm here. Talk." Kane withdrew his hand smoothly, unbothered. "I want to start by saying I'm deeply sorry about your dog. What happened was inexcusable. My employees acted without my knowledge or consent, and they will face the full consequences of their actions. Your employees, Dylan Royce, Troy Vance, Kyle Sherman, they all worked for you. They did. But I have hundreds of employees across multiple projects. I can't monitor everyone's personal conduct 24/7. What they did to your animal was their choice, not mine." The lawyer leaned forward. "My client is prepared to offer you $50,000 to cover all veterinary expenses and additional compensation for emotional distress. In exchange, we ask that you don't make any public statements that might damage Mr. Kane's business reputation." Jake's jaw clenched. "You're trying to buy my silence." "We're trying to make things right," Kane said smoothly. "You're a veteran. You understand chain of command. You understand that sometimes subordinates act outside orders. I'm not responsible for what my employees did in their free time. They weren't in their free time. They came to my property during work hours in a company vehicle and beat my military working dog to send a message because I wouldn't sell you my land." Kane's expression flickered, just for a second. The lawyer touched his arm, a warning. "That's a serious accusation," Kane said carefully. "Do you have proof of that? Security footage, license plates, phone records, financial transactions? Yeah, I have proof." The lawyer's eyes narrowed. "If you have such proof, why hasn't Mr. Kane been charged? He will be, soon." Kane leaned back, his smile returning. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a businessman, a successful one. I've built an empire through hard work and smart investments. Sometimes in business you make offers. Sometimes people accept. Sometimes they don't. When they don't, you move on. You find another property, another opportunity. You don't resort to violence." "Then explain Troy Vance. Explain why he's dead." The coffee shop went silent. Several customers looked over. The bodyguards tensed. Kane's smile froze. "I had nothing to do with that tragedy." Kane said, his voice dropping to something harder. "Troy was troubled. He made poor choices. What happened to him was terrible, but it's not my fault. He died the day before he was going to testify against you. Coincidence? Convenient coincidence." The lawyer stood. "This meeting is over. Mr. Kane came here in good faith to offer compensation and apologize. You're making baseless accusations. We're leaving." Kane remained seated. "Actually, I want to say one more thing." He looked directly at Jake, and the mask slipped completely. His eyes went cold, empty. "You're a smart man, Mr. Morrison. Smart enough to know when you're outmatched. I have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers who could tie you up in court for years. Friends in high places who owe me favors. You're one man with a hurt dog and some circumstantial evidence. Walk away. Take the money. Move on with your life. Because if you keep pushing, you won't like what happens next." Jake stood slowly. "Is that a threat?" "It's friendly advice." "Friendly advice. Like the friendly advice your men gave my dog when they beat him with pipes." Kane stood too, and for a moment they faced each other across the table. "I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make this easy. But if you want to do this the hard way, if you want to keep pushing, then you'll find out exactly what I'm capable of. And trust me, Mr. Morrison, you don't want that." Marcus's voice crackled in Jake's ear through the wire. "That's enough. We got what we need. Get out." Jake turned and walked toward the exit. The bodyguards moved to block his path. Jake stopped, looked at them without expression. "Move." "Mr. Kane isn't finished talking to you," one of them said. "I'm finished listening." "We said move." Tom's voice cut through the tension. He stood by the entrance, rifle case in hand, his Vietnam veteran cap low over his eyes. "Boy asked you nicely. I'm asking less nicely." The bodyguards looked at Tom, then at Jake, calculating odds. Marcus and two uniformed officers appeared at the door behind Tom. "Gentlemen, there a problem here?" Marcus asked pleasantly. The bodyguard stepped aside. Jake walked out, Tom beside him, Marcus covering their exit. Outside, Jake's hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage, so pure he could taste it. "Easy," Tom said quietly. "Breathe. You did good. You got him to talk. You got him to threaten you. That's evidence." Marcus appeared grinning. "That's evidence is right. We got every word. His lawyer's going to have a stroke when she hears that recording. You don't want to find out what I'm capable of. That's beautiful. That's conspiracy. That's intimidation. Combined with everything else, the DA can move forward even without the safe records. But the safe would seal it. Yeah, it would. And Jake, here's the thing." Marcus's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression changing from satisfaction to shock. "Say that again, slowly." He hung up, looked at Jake. "The safe's open. Forensics finally cracked it. And it's empty. Completely empty. No records, no files, no evidence. Nothing." Jake's stomach dropped. He cleaned it out. "When I saw him at the cabin, that duffel bag, he was moving the evidence." "Yeah. And we don't know where he put it. Could be anywhere. Could be destroyed already. Jake, without those records, we've got enough to charge him with intimidation and conspiracy, maybe even accessory to Troy's murder. But the original charges, the animal cruelty, the property damage, the organized intimidation campaign, we can't prove he ordered any of it. His lawyers will argue it was all rogue employees and they might win." "No, that's not happening. We didn't come this far to watch him walk. Jake, I'm telling you the reality. We have a case, but it's not as strong as we need. A good lawyer, which Kane has several of, could poke holes in it, could create reasonable doubt. He might still get convicted, but he might not. And if he doesn't, everyone he hurt gets hurt again, because he'll know he can get away with it." Jake's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello, Mr. Morrison?" Kane's voice smooth and confident. "Enjoying the evening I am. See, while you were wasting time trying to intimidate me in that coffee shop, my people were making sure certain evidence disappeared. Evidence that might have caused me some inconvenience. Now I'm calling to make my final offer. $50,000, and you leave Washington. Permanently. Sell your property, take your dog, and disappear. If you do that, I promise no one else you care about gets hurt. You son of before you say something you'll regret. Let me tell you about Jennifer Park." Sweet woman. Beautiful boy. They're at Tom Rodriguez's house right now, aren't they? 315 Maple Street. Blue house. White shutters. Tom drives a 2015 Ford truck license plate, JTR 4891. Maria drives a Honda sedan. And your dog Thor is recovering at your property on Riverside Road, alone, with just a simple fence between him and anyone who might want to visit him. Jake's blood went ice cold. If you touch them, I won't touch anyone. If you leave, tonight, pack your things, take your dog and go. You have until midnight. After midnight, I can't guarantee everyone's safety. Do we understand each other? The call ended. Jake looked at Marcus, and Marcus must have heard enough through the wire because he was already on his radio. All units, we need protection at 315 Maple Street immediately, and send a patrol to Morrison's property. Now. Tom grabbed Jake's arm. Maria, Jennifer, David, we need to go. They ran to Tom's truck. Jake called Tom's house. Maria answered. Mijo, is everything okay? Lock all the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me or Tom or uniformed police. Kane knows where you are. He's threatening everyone. Silence. Then Maria's voice steel underneath the sweetness. He wants to threaten my family. Let him come. I've got Robert's rifle and I know how to use it. Maria, please. I'm locking the doors. I'm keeping the children safe. You do what you need to do. We'll be fine. But Jake's mind was racing. Kane had made one mistake. He'd mentioned Thor, alone at Jake's property. And suddenly Jake understood. He's not going after your house, Jake said to Tom. He's going after Thor. That's why he mentioned Thor specifically. He's drawing me away from my property, so his people can go after Thor again, finish what they started. Marcus swore. I've got a unit heading to your place, but they're 10 minutes out. You're closer. Turn around, Jake told Tom. But Maria? Maria's safe. The police are almost there. Thor's alone. Thor's the target. Turn around. Now. Tom spun the truck in a tight turn, tires screaming. They covered the distance to Jake's property in 8 minutes, running red lights, Marcus following behind with sirens blaring. Jake's property appeared dark. Too dark. The porch light he'd left on was off. The driveway gate stood open, and a black sedan was parked behind the house. Thor. Jake was out of the truck before Tom stopped, completely running toward the house, Marcus yelling behind him to wait for backup. The front door was ajar. Inside, shadows moved. Jake burst through and found 2 men in his living room. One held a metal pipe. The other held a gun. And Thor, bandages torn off, bleeding from reopened wounds, stood between the men and the stairs, where Jake kept his bedroom, his sanctuary, everything that mattered. Thor snarled, despite the pain, despite the blood protecting the empty house, like he'd protected Jake 1,000 times before. The man with the gun turned toward Jake. Boss said you'd come, said you'd choose the dog over everything else. He was right. Jake's training took over. He moved before thought, faster than the man could track, closed the distance, grabbed the gun, hand twisted, bone cracking. The weapon fell. Jake caught it, spun, aimed at the second man, who froze, pipe raised. Put it down. The pipe clattered to the floor. Thor limped forward, still snarling, still ready to fight despite everything. Jake's heart broke and swelled simultaneously. Stay, Thor, I've got this. Marcus burst through the door, weapon drawn, uniformed officers flooding in behind him. Secure them! Jake, you okay? Yeah. But Thor. Dr. Chen appeared at the door, Tom behind her. I was on my way to check on him for the evening. Tom called me, said there might be trouble. Let me see him. She knelt beside Thor, who was still trying to stand guard despite the blood, despite the pain, despite everything broken in him that refused to stay broken. He reopened his wounds fighting. Doctor, Chen said quietly, checking him with gentle hands. But he's okay. He's going to be okay. He's the toughest patient I've ever had. Jake knelt beside them, and Thor finally relaxed, pressing his head into Jake's chest with a shuddering breath that sounded like relief and pain mixed together. You did good, buddy. You protected home. You did your job. Now let us do ours. Marcus handcuffed both men, reading them their rights. You're both under arrest for breaking and entering attempted animal cruelty assault with a deadly weapon, and you're going to tell me everything about who sent you. Because right now, you're looking at serious time. But if you cooperate, if you give us Kane, we might be able to help you. The man with the broken wrist looked at his partner, then at Marcus. Kane called us 3 hours ago. Said there was 10,000 each if we took care of the dog. Said make it permanent this time. Said make sure Morrison found the body. Said send a message he can't ignore. Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. And you just gave me exactly what I needed. Jake Kane just made his biggest mistake. He ordered a hit while we were investigating him. He threatened witnesses. He tried to kill a retired military working dog. Again. That's federal charges. That's conspiracy. That's so many laws broken, I'll need a calculator to count them. He's done. Jake's phone rang. Kane, did you get my message, Mr. Morrison? Because I can send more. I can send... Kane, Marcus said, taking Jake's phone, putting it on speaker. This is Detective Marcus Webb. I'm standing in Morrison's living room with 2 of your employees who just confessed that you paid them to kill his dog. Everything you've said tonight has been recorded. Everything you've done has been documented. And right now I've got units surrounding your lawyer's office. You're under arrest. It's over. Silence on the other end. Then, you can't prove anything. I have recordings of you threatening Morrison. I have 2 witnesses who just confessed you paid them for attempted murder. I have the cabin guard's testimony. I have Kyle Sherman's testimony. I have a dozen other witnesses you intimidated. I have security footage. I have phone records. I have everything, Kane. And even without the records from your safe, I have enough to put you away for 20 years. It's over. You lost. The call ended. Marcus looked at Jake. We won. But Jake wasn't celebrating. He was kneeling beside Thor, who'd finally stopped trying to stand guard, who'd finally let himself collapse into Jake's arms, trusting that Jake would keep watch now. He fought them off, Dr. Chen said softly. 2 men with weapons, and he fought them off until you got here. Most dogs would have run. He stayed. He protected home. That's what we do, Jake murmured into Thor's fur. That's what partners do. We protect each other. Always. 20 minutes later, more police arrived. Crime scene techs, photographers, the house filled with people documenting Kane's final mistake. And through it all, Thor lay in Jake's arms, breathing steadily, stubbornly, refusing to quit. Marcus's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression shifted to pure satisfaction. They got him. Kane tried to run, made it 3 blocks before patrol units boxed him in. He's in custody. Jake, it's really over. He's going to prison. All of them are. Tom clapped Jake on the shoulder. Maria arrived with Jennifer and David. All of them safe. All of them protected. Sarah Donnelly called to say she heard the news, said justice was finally coming. And in the midst of all of it, Thor opened his eyes, looked at Jake, and his tail thumped once against the floor. We did it. We won. Yeah, buddy, Jake whispered. We did. And now we rest. We heal. And we help others do the same. Because that's what happens next. That's the mission now. Dr. Chen worked on Thor for 2 hours that night, re-stitching wounds that had torn open, stabilizing what the fight had damaged. Shaking her head at how much punishment one dog could take and still survive. Jake sat beside the table the entire time, hand on Thor's paw, whispering promises he intended to keep. He shouldn't have made it through the first attack. Doctor, Chen said quietly, her hand steady despite the exhaustion in her voice. And he definitely shouldn't have survived a second one. But here he is, still fighting, still breathing. Jake, this dog doesn't quit. Ever. Runs in the family. She smiled faintly. Yeah, I can see that. She finished the last bandage, checked vitals one more time. He needs to stay here tonight, maybe longer. I want him monitored constantly. But Jake, you need rest too. You look like you're about to collapse. I'm staying. I figured you'd say that. She pulled out a blanket, tossed it at him. Couch in the waiting room folds out. Use it. And Jake. You did good tonight. You saved him. Again. Jake carried the blanket to the waiting room, but didn't use the couch. He pulled a chair back into the recovery room, positioned it beside Thor's table, and sat. Thor's breathing was labored but steady. His eyes opened occasionally, found Jake closed again with what looked like relief. Marcus appeared around midnight with coffee and food. Jake didn't want, but forced himself to eat because his body needed fuel, and his mind knew it, even if his stomach disagreed. Kane's in federal custody, Marcus said, settling into another chair. They're charging him with conspiracy to commit murder, animal cruelty, witness intimidation, attempted murder, and about 15 other counts I can barely pronounce. The DA says with all the evidence, with all the testimony, he's looking at minimum 25 years. Maybe life if they can prove he ordered Troy's death. Can they prove it? Working on it. The 2 men you caught tonight are singing like birds. Gave us names of everyone Kane ever paid for dirty work. One of them was the guy who killed Troy. He's been picked up. He's already asking for a deal. Says Kane paid him $50,000 to make Troy's suicide look real. Says Kane told him directly, and I quote, "Make it clean, make it permanent, make sure he never testifies." That's first-degree murder for hire. Kane's never seeing daylight again. Jake sipped the coffee. It was terrible, burnt and bitter, but it was hot, and it was there. What about Dylan Kyle? Dylan's looking at 10 to 15 for the animal cruelty charges, assault conspiracy. Kyle's getting a reduced sentence for cooperating, probably 5 years out and 3 with good behavior. The cabin guard's cooperating too, looking at similar time. They're all going down Jake, every single one of them. And the family's Jennifer, Sarah, the others Kane hurt. Jennifer's getting victim compensation, so is Sarah. Everyone Kane intimidated or damaged is filing civil suits. Kane's assets are being frozen. His company's being dissolved. By the time the lawsuits are done, he won't have a penny left. Everything he built, everything he stole, it's all being returned to the people he hurt. Jake looked at Thor, watched his chest rise and fall. Good. That's good. Marcus stood to leave, paused at the door. Jake, I need to ask you something. What are you going to do now, when this is all over? When Kane's in prison? When Thor's healed, what's next for you? Jake didn't answer immediately. He'd been asking himself the same question for days, maybe weeks, maybe since the moment he'd left the Navy and tried to figure out who he was, without the uniform, without the mission, without the purpose that had defined him for 12 years. I don't know yet, he said finally, but I'll figure it out. Well, when you do, let me know, because the department could use a guy like you, security consultant, trainer for our K9 units, someone who understands what it means to serve and protect even after the uniform comes off. Think about it. Marcus left. Jake sat with Thor through the night, dozing occasionally, jerking awake at every sound, every change in Thor's breathing. Tom came by at dawn with fresh coffee and Maria's breakfast burritos. Jennifer stopped by with David, who wanted to see Thor, but was too scared to get close. Is he going to be okay? David whispered, staring at the bandaged dog with wide eyes. Yeah, buddy. He's tough. He's going to be fine. My mom says bad men hurt him because he was protecting your house. Is that true? Jake knelt to David's level. Yeah, that's true. Thor's a military working dog, retired but still a soldier at heart. When bad men came to our home, he didn't run. He stood his ground. He protected what mattered. That's what heroes do. Are you a hero too? The question caught Jake off guard. Jennifer looked embarrassed, started to apologize, but Jake held up a hand. No, Jake said honestly. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who loves his dog and doesn't back down when people hurt the ones he cares about. Heroes are people like your mom who stood up to Kane even when she was scared. Heroes are people like Sarah Donnelly who refused to be intimidated. Heroes are regular people who do the right thing even when it's hard. That's real heroism. David considered this seriously. Then he stepped closer to Thor, reached out a small hand, gently touched the dog's paw. You're a hero, he whispered to Thor. "Thank you for protecting people." Thor's eye opened. His tail moved slightly, and something in Jake's chest, something that had been locked tight for years, cracked open a little wider. 3 days later, Dr. Chen declared Thor stable enough to go home. The drive back to Jake's property was slow and careful. Thor lying on the bench seat with his head on Jake's lap, watching the trees pass with those intelligent eyes that seemed to understand everything. Tom and Maria had been busy. Jake's house had been cleaned, repaired, the broken door replaced, new locks installed. Maria had cooked enough food to feed an army and stored it in Jake's refrigerator with notes about reheating instructions. Tom had reinforced the fence, added motion sensor lights, turned the property into something more secure without making it feel like a fortress. "You didn't have to do all this," Jake said, but his throat was tight with gratitude he didn't know how to express. "Yes, we did," Maria said firmly. "Your family, mijo. Family takes care of each other. Now you take care of that dog and let him heal, and you heal too. Both of you earned it." They left. The house felt too quiet without them, but it was a good quiet, a peaceful quiet. Jake helped Thor inside, settled him on the thick dog bed Tom had bought, made sure water and food were within easy reach. "Home," Jake said softly. "We're home. And this time, we're staying." Thor's tail thumped once in agreement. The trial took 6 months to prepare. 6 months of depositions and testimony, and lawyers arguing over evidence and procedures. Jake testified twice, once for the criminal case and once for the civil suits. Each time he told the truth plainly and without embellishment. He didn't need to embellish. The security footage said everything that mattered. Kane's lawyers tried every tactic claimed. Jake was unstable, claimed the attacks were justified. Property defense claimed Kane had no knowledge of what his employees were doing. But the evidence was overwhelming. Kyle Sherman's testimony. The cabin guard's confession. The 2 men caught in Jake's house, who'd recorded Kane's phone call, ordering them to kill Thor. Financial records showing payments to every person who'd intimidated Kane's targets. Phone logs proving Kane had personally directed the campaign of terror. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous on all counts. Guilty. 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 Kane showed no emotion as the judge sentenced him to 35 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. His empire built on intimidation and violence collapsed in a single afternoon. His properties were liquidated. His assets distributed to his victims. Everything he'd built turned to dust. Jake watched from the gallery, Thor sitting beside him in a service vest Dr. Chen had cleared him to wear for the occasion. When the sentence was read, Thor's tail thumped once against the courtroom floor. Justice. Finally. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Jake ignored them, but Jennifer didn't. She stood in front of the cameras with David beside her and spoke clearly, her voice steady. "Vincent Kane tried to break us, tried to scare us into giving up our homes, our lives, our dignity. He thought we were weak because we were ordinary people. But he was wrong. We stood together. We supported each other. And we proved that ordinary people doing extraordinary things can defeat anyone. I hope every person watching this understands that. You don't have to be rich or powerful to demand justice. You just have to be brave enough to stand up." Sarah Donnelly stood beside her, nodding. "And brave enough to stay standing even when it's hard, even when it's scary. That's the lesson here. That's what matters." The reporters turned to Jake, shoving microphones toward him. "Mr. Morrison, what do you want people to know about this case?" Jake looked down at Thor, who looked back up at him with those eyes that had seen combat and survived hell twice and still chose trust over fear. "I want people to know that loyalty matters, that standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves matters, and that animals aren't property. They're partners, they're family. What Kane did to Thor wasn't just a crime, it was an attack on something sacred, the bond between a handler and their dog. And that bond is unbreakable, no matter what anyone does to try to destroy it." A reporter asked one more question. "What's next for you and Thor?" Jake smiled for the first time in months. We're going to help others, other veterans, other dogs, other families who need someone to stand with them. That's the mission now. That's what we're built for. The mission started small. Marcus connected Jake with the police canine unit, and Jake began consulting on training protocols, teaching handlers the lessons he'd learned with Thor over 8 years of partnership. Thor came to demonstrations when he was strong enough, showing young dogs what discipline and trust looked like in action. Then came the call that changed everything. A veteran advocacy group reached out asking if Jake would be interested in starting a program to connect retired military working dogs with veterans struggling with PTSD and reintegration. The funding was there. The need was desperate. All they needed was someone who understood both sides of the equation. Jake said yes before they finished explaining the details. The program launched 6 months after Kane's sentencing. They called it the Valor Canine Foundation, and the mission was simple: rescue retired military working dogs from shelters and government facilities, provide them with medical care and rehabilitation, then match them with veterans who needed the kind of partnership that only a fellow warrior could provide. The first dog they placed was a Belgian Malinois named Bella, 10 years old, explosive detection specialist. 3 combat deployments, scarred and skittish and brilliant. The veteran was Robert Chen, 42, former Army Ranger struggling with nightmares and isolation and the feeling that he didn't belong anywhere anymore. Jake brought Bella to Robert's apartment on a cold morning in February. Robert answered the door looking hollow, his eyes empty in a way Jake recognized from his own mirror. "This is Bella," Jake said simply. "She served 8 years. Saved countless lives. Retired last year and ended up in a shelter because nobody wanted a dog with PTSD. But I think you two might understand each other." Robert looked at Bella. Bella looked at Robert. And something passed between them that didn't need words. Recognition. Understanding. The knowledge that they'd both seen things nobody should see and survived things nobody should survive. "Can I touch her?" Robert asked quietly. "Ask her. She'll tell you." Robert knelt, slowly extended his hand. Bella sniffed it, considered, then stepped forward and pressed her head against his chest. Robert's hands came up, buried themselves in her fur, and he started crying. Not quiet tears. Deep, wrenching sobs that sounded like they'd been locked inside for years. Bella didn't move, just stood there, solid and warm and present the way Thor had stood for Jake 1,000 times. "She gets it," Robert whispered. "She gets it. Nobody else gets it, but she does." "Yeah," Jake said softly. "She gets it. And now you've got each other. Now you can heal together." 60 days later, Robert called to say Bella had saved his life. Not metaphorically. Literally. She'd sensed a panic attack coming before Robert did, alerted him. Gotten him to sit down and breathe through it instead of spiraling. She'd given him purpose, feeding her, walking her, caring for her, when he had no purpose for himself. She'd reminded him what it felt like to be needed, to be trusted, to be loved without conditions. "I don't know how to thank you," Robert said, his voice stronger than it had been in their first meeting. "You gave me my life back." "I didn't give you anything," Jake replied. "You did the work, you and Bella. I just made the introduction." More placements followed. More dogs, more veterans. More lives changed by the simple act of connecting warriors who understood what it meant to serve and what it cost to come home. The foundation grew, donations poured in. Media coverage spread the word. Within a year they'd placed 40 dogs with 40 veterans, and the waiting list was 100 names long. Thor became the foundation's mascot. His story shared in fundraising materials, his scarred face a reminder that survival was possible, that healing was possible, that the bonds forged in service could endure anything. He attended every placement ceremony, greeting new dogs and new veterans with the same calm dignity he'd shown in combat. And Jake found what he'd been searching for since he'd left the Navy. Purpose. Mission. A reason to wake up every morning that wasn't just survival, but service. Helping others find what he and Thor had found: partnership that transcended species loyalty, that couldn't be broken. Healing that came from standing together instead of alone. 2 years after Kane's sentencing, Jake stood in a packed auditorium at a veterans conference. 500 people in the audience. Media cameras rolling. He'd been asked to speak about the foundation, about the work they were doing, about how one man and one dog had started something that was changing lives across the country. Thor sat beside him on stage, older now, grayer around the muzzle, but still strong, still alert, still every inch the warrior he'd always been. Jake stepped to the podium, looked out at the faces, saw veterans and families and advocates and people who'd heard the story and wanted to be part of the solution. 3 years ago, Jake began, someone tried to break what I loved most. They beat my partner, my brother, my best friend. They tried to destroy the bond we'd built over 8 years of service together. They thought violence would win. They thought fear would make us quit. They were wrong. He paused, looked down at Thor, who looked back with those eyes that held 1,000 memories of missions completed and dangers survived, and trust never broken. Thor taught me something important. He taught me that strength isn't about never getting hurt. It's about getting up after you're hurt. It's about choosing to trust again after trust has been betrayed. It's about protecting what matters even when protection costs everything. And most importantly, he taught me that we're not meant to do this alone. Life is hard. Coming home from war is hard. Finding purpose after service is hard. But it's easier when you have a partner who understands, who doesn't judge, who just shows up every day ready to stand beside you no matter what comes. Someone in the audience started clapping, then another. Then the whole room erupted standing ovation that went on for minutes. Jake waited for it to quiet his hand on Thor's head, steady and sure. The Valor K9 Foundation exists because Thor survived, because he fought back, because he refused to quit. And now we're making sure other dogs like him get the chance to serve again, not in combat, but in the most important battle any of us fight, the battle to come home, to heal, to find purpose again. We've placed 200 dogs with 200 veterans in the past 2 years. Every single one of those placements is a life saved. 2 lives, actually. The dogs and the veterans. Because they save each other. He showed pictures. Bella and Robert hiking together in the mountains, both of them smiling. A German shepherd named Rex, paired with a Marine who'd lost both legs, the dog trained to help with mobility and alert for nightmares. A small mixed breed named Scout, matched with a female veteran who'd survived assault, the dog trained to create safe space in crowds and sense anxiety attacks. These are the stories that matter, Jake continued. These are the victories that count. Not the courtroom wins, not the justice served, not the punishment delivered to people who deserved it. Those things are important, but they're not the point. The point is what comes after. The healing, the rebuilding, the choice to take something broken and make it whole again. That's what Thor did for me. That's what these dogs do for these veterans. And that's what we'll keep doing as long as there are dogs who need homes and veterans who need partners. After the speech, people lined up to meet Thor, to shake Jake's hand, to share their own stories of loss and survival and healing. A young woman, maybe 25, approached with tears streaming down her face. "I served in Afghanistan," she said quietly. "I had a dog, military working dog. His name was King. He saved my unit 3 times, detected IEDs that would have killed us. Then one day we got ambushed. King took bullets meant for me. He died in my arms. I've never been able to move past it. Never been able to think about getting another dog, because it felt like replacing him, dishonoring him." Jake listened, understanding every word, because he'd lived with that same fear after every close call with Thor. "King can't be replaced," Jake said gently. "No dog can replace another. But honoring King doesn't mean living alone forever. It means living the life he died protecting. It means finding joy again, purpose again. And maybe when you're ready, it means opening your heart to another dog who needs you as much as you need them. Not a replacement. A new chapter, a different partnership. But one that honors everything King taught you about loyalty and sacrifice and love." The young woman nodded, wiping tears. "You really think there's a dog out there for me?" "I know there is. And when you're ready, we'll help you find each other." 6 months later, that same woman adopted a retired military working dog named Atlas, and she sent Jake a photo of them together. Both of them smiling, both of them healing. The foundation kept growing. More placements, more success stories, more lives changed. Jake hired staff, other veterans who understood the mission, who'd lived the struggle, who wanted to serve even after the uniform came off. Tom volunteered as a board member, using his organizational skills honed in the military. Maria ran fundraising events, turning her church community into the foundation's biggest supporters. Jennifer got involved with public relations, sharing her story to help raise awareness. Sarah Donnelly donated land for a training facility, 5 acres, where dogs and veterans could learn together in peace. And through it all, Thor remained the heart of everything. The reminder that survival was possible. That healing took time, but was worth the effort. That the bonds formed in service could endure anything, even attacks meant to destroy them. On a warm evening in May, 4 years after Kane's sentencing, Jake sat on his porch with Thor beside him. The dog was older now, 12 years old, moving slower, sleeping more, but still sharp, still present, still the partner he'd always been. Marcus stopped by with news. "Kane died yesterday. Heart attack in prison, alone in his cell. Nobody claimed the body." Jake felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just a quiet acknowledgement that a chapter had closed. "He spent 4 years surrounded by people who hated him for what he did," Marcus continued. "Inmates don't like people who hurt animals. He had a rough time. And in the end, he died alone. No family, no friends. Nothing he built lasted. Everything he stole got returned to the people he hurt. His legacy is zero." "Good," Jake said simply. Marcus sat down, accepted the beer Jake offered. "You know what your legacy is. 247 placements so far. 247 veterans who have partners now. Who have purpose. Who have hope. That's what lasts. Not money, not power, not fear. Connection. Service. Love. That's the stuff that outlives us." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set behind the mountains. Thor sighed, deeply content. "You did good, buddy," Jake murmured, scratching behind Thor's ears. "You did real good. Changed a lot of lives. Saved a lot of people. Including me." Thor's tail thumped twice. Enough. Always enough. Months passed into years. The foundation celebrated its 5th anniversary with a gala that raised $500,000 in one night. They'd placed over 400 dogs by then, with new programs expanding into therapy, dog training, PTSD alert training, and mobility assistance. Jake spoke at conferences, testified before Congress about the importance of funding for military working dog retirement programs, became a voice for veterans and animals who couldn't speak for themselves. And Thor, now 13 years old, slowed down but never stopped. He still attended placement ceremonies when his health allowed, still greeted new dogs and new veterans with the same calm presence, still reminded everyone who met him what true partnership looked like. On a quiet morning in October, Thor didn't get up when Jake woke. He lifted his head, looked at Jake with those eyes that held so many years of shared experience, and Jake knew, just knew. He called Dr. Chen. She came to the house, examined Thor gently, and her expression told Jake everything. "His body's tired," she said softly. "He's held on longer than most dogs would, longer than he probably should have. But Jake, he's in pain, and it's only going to get worse. I think he's been waiting. Waiting for you to be okay. Waiting for permission." Jake knelt beside Thor's bed. The dog's breathing was labored, his eyes clouded with age and pain, but still focused on Jake's face with perfect clarity. "You've done enough," Jake whispered, his voice breaking. "You've fought enough battles, protected enough people, saved enough lives. It's okay to rest now. It's okay to let go. I'm going to be okay. The foundation's going to be okay. All those veterans you helped, all those dogs you inspired, they're all going to be okay. Because of you. because of everything you taught us. You can rest now, buddy. You earned it. Thor's tail moved slightly. Understanding, acceptance, trust. Dr. Chen prepared the injection. Jake held Thor's head in his lap, looked into those eyes that had seen him through the darkest moments of his life, and said the only thing that mattered. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for never giving up. Thank you for being my partner, my brother, my best friend. I'll see you again someday. I promise. When my mission's done, when I've helped everyone I can help, I'll find you again. Wait for me, okay? Wait for me. Thor's eyes held Jake's until the very end. And then, peacefully surrounded by love, the warrior rested at last. Jake buried Thor on his property under the tree where he used to sleep in the sun. The entire Foundation staff attended. Marcus and Tom and Maria and Jennifer and David and Sarah and dozens of veterans who'd been helped by the Foundation came to pay respects. They told stories of Thor's impact of lives changed because one dog refused to quit, refused to break, refused to let violence win. And Jake stood beside the grave and made a promise. We're going to keep going. Every dog we place, every veteran we help, every life we change, it's because of you. You started this. Your courage, your strength, your refusal to be broken. That's the legacy. That's what lasts. And I swear to you, Thor, I won't stop until every retired military working dog has a home, until every veteran who needs a partner has one, until everyone understands that the bonds we form in service are sacred and unbreakable. That's my mission now. That's how I honor you. The Foundation continued, grew stronger, placed more dogs, helped more veterans, changed more lives. Jake worked tirelessly, driven by the promise he'd made, carrying Thor's memory in everything he did. 10 years after Thor's death, the Valor K9 Foundation had placed over 2,000 dogs, had training facilities in 15 states, had success stories that filled books and changed legislation, and inspired similar programs across the country. The young woman who'd lost King was now running the East Coast branch, matching dogs with veterans, sharing her own story of healing. Robert and Bella had become advocates, speaking at schools about service and sacrifice and second chances. And Jake, now 55, gray-haired, but still strong, still driven, still committed to the mission, stood at another conference and told Thor's story to a new generation. They tried to break him, Jake said, his voice carrying across the auditorium. They beat him. They hurt him. They tried to destroy everything he represented. But they failed. Because strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting up after you fall. It's about choosing courage over fear. It's about protecting what matters, no matter the cost. Thor taught me that. And through the Foundation, Thor's still teaching it to every person we help, every dog we place, every life we touch. That's the power of partnership. That's the power of refusing to quit. That's the power of love that can't be broken no matter what tries to break it. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. And somewhere Jake liked to think Thor was watching, tail wagging, proud of everything they'd built together. Because that's what partners do. They stand together. They fight together. They heal together. And they change the world, one life at a time, one connection at a time, one unbreakable bond at a time. That's the mission. That's the legacy. That's what lasts forever.